Alright, I'm gonna be honest. Slut shaming couldn't really affect me growing up. Because whenever my mom tried, I would just kind of realize, hey, I know the story of how I was conceived, bitch, plus all my siblings, so you can't make me feel bad for how I was interacting with certain people at an age where I was genuinely curious and the hormones were running rampant. So, you know, when some guy I dated, sadly, in high school, he tried to avenge porn me, and I thought I should bother telling my mom about this because this is very strenuous on my body. She tried to slut shame me and call me a fucking hoe. And that's really fucking funny because it's like, okay, at my age, it's like, yeah, I sent a dude an ass pic or a titty pic because he was coercing me into it. Not fucking great. Or just because I was horny. Fuck it. That's a perfectly valid reason. Was it the smartest thing? No. But unlike her, I did not need to get an abortion when I was fucking 15 because I was getting walled by football players in the school bathrooms. So, clearly, whenever she was calling me a hoe, bitch, slut, any of that shit that she did, it did not affect me that hard because it's like, okay, my mistakes. Sure, it can be your little hot tea to spill to all the family members as they're all in your bedroom. Your tea is so hot that everyone in the family just knows it is how all of your fucking kids were made. All of them. Like, I don't know, my study behavior has resulted in, like, you know, countless late nights of thinking, oh God, why the fuck did I fuck that man? It did not result in multiple lives of children who now definitely need therapy and have personality disorders and many, many other types of disorders, all because of you fucking the wrong men. My sluttiness created bad memories, yours just created badly raised children. Plus, ironically, all that the slut shaming did was just make me go, okay, if I'm gonna be a whore just because I dared to have like sexual interest in another guy my age, during the age where of course the hormones are going to make you sexually attracted to people, that's what being a teenager is. You start being the age where you can start breeding and fucking. Sadly, that is what it is. You started transitioning to adulthood and your body is just freaking the fuck out. It's an entirely natural process, and I feel bad whenever I meet people who go through like sexual shame. Did I go through it? Of course I did, on both sides of my family. My mom wasn't religious by any means, and thank her fucking bless her goddamn heart for not being religious in any sense or form. At best, she told us, hey, if anyone asks, say you believe in Jesus and say that you're a Christian and say that you go to church. And it helped. Otherwise, the black community would not accept us, and that makes sense. In fact, I went to a comedy club and some guy was making jokes about how all black people go to church, and that he said, all black people, raise your hands if you went to church growing up. And then I didn't raise my hand, and he said, okay, which parent was the white parent? Did you have a white mother? And that was very funny. But also, she just grew up in church and she fucking hated the people, the toxic environment, the hypocrisy, etc., etc. It's funny because she became that exact type of person to raise her kids in that exact type of environment. But let me move on. Let me stop dragging her. And then on the other side of my family, the Muslim side, with my fucked up, shitty, lame-ass, pathetic sperm giver of a father. Even father's not a good enough name for that type of man. He's fucking... Because, I don't know, that side of the family was really weird because their hypocrisy with their religion would pop up because it's like, oh, okay, they're fine with my aunt being an escort, they're fine with tattoos, they're fine with seafood, they're fine with premarital sex. They are not fine with me being made. If anything, and they're fine with abortion because, funny enough, I remember learning from both sides of my family that my grandmother, my very, very supposedly Muslim grandmother, was fucking begging my mother to get an abortion because she thought that bringing me onto this planet would basically be the Antichrist. How funny. I like to think I have lived up to that role assigned for me before I was even born. Pretty well. Yeah, several people can vouch for that. And then I remember my grandmother literally told me countless stories of how she held me after I was born, and she was like, well, you're here, I guess. You're cute. What can we do? You're here. And it's like, you know, she always phrased it very cute until I learned the whole fucking story. It's like, no, you should have not been shaming my mother for having sex with your ugly little bitch-ass son. Like, come on now. The sperm chases the egg. She wouldn't be pregnant if it wasn't for your son hiding in her bushes all the time, begging her to get back with him. Come on now. My mom had a restraining order against that man. Do you really think she was trying to actively create me to keep him? No! One can actually speculate the opposite, considering, oh God, I have so many stories. Let's just say it was a common occurrence where whenever he wanted to see me or know how I was doing, he would text her, and then she'd be like, hey, Tamia, when's the last time your father's talked to you? And I said, I don't know, I haven't got a text from him in like 6 months. But he was texting her every fucking week. Fuck that nigga. Anyway, but back to what I was saying. Their family was very confusing with their values, so then it seemed like the only consistent thing amongst them was that they believed in Allah. They didn't pray though, but you know, some of them did, some of them didn't at all. But they believed in Allah, so fuck it. Two, the misogyny aspect. And the slut-shaming aspect. And then, anything else? There's one more thing I'm missing. Oh, and they didn't eat pork. So it's like, if you want to just... My grandmother was so fucking weird. She'd be like, oh, okay. It's like she figured out the solution to breaking Ramadan was I'm going to just start talking shit and swearing so early in the day and then be like, oh, damn, I broke Ramadan. Anyway, open that motherfucking fridge up, and then she'd open up the fridge and then just get some fucking food. And she'd do shit like that and actually, she's done a ton of haram shit over her life. But, I couldn't have on a fucking V-neck. No, I couldn't. I'm already a very modest dresser. Okay, excuse the little people there, but I'm a very modest dresser. I don't like to dress very sexually, or no, I do like to dress sexually. Just the other day I had push-up bra and a mini skirt, and it was so cute. But usually I'm just cold as shit. Plus I like to just not have everyone seeing everything. No, I like to surprise them with that, like a little surprise poof, later on when they do good behavior stuff. But I remember this one specific time we went dress shopping, and she was like, oh, Tommy, I know this perfect little store over by the lake, we gotta take you there. And she took me there, and it was a very cute dress. I was like, how old was I? I was like 12 or 13 or so. And it was a very, let me see, one second. Let's say the dress was about to here, like just ever so slightly above the knee. And then otherwise it fit like a T. And even she noticed that. She's like, oh, that dress fits you perfectly, but she still was cringing like, it's kind of tight. And even Evan in the room was like, no, it's not. It was a perfectly form-fitting dress where it would just like fit well. Kind of like how this shirt fits me, it like fits well, but it's, okay, so mostly well. Just like you can easily tell, oh, she has a figure under there. She is not a rectangle. But it was completely nice. Even by like 1950 standards, someone would look at the dress and go, that's a completely appropriate dress. Not her. She was like, we need to size this up. No, you can see her knees. You can see a little bit of the thigh. We can't have that. It just fits too well. We don't need that being shown to the world. And so then she brought out a size bigger, which was baggy as hell. It fit like a potato sack. It went further down past the knees. It was just sagging. It looked like I had put on grandmother's clothing or something I found in a thrift store. It looked like shit. And then we actually got into one of our first like mini arguments ever back then because she just kept refusing to get me the one that actually fit my size right. So, I've grown up with people trying to convince me like, oh, showing skin is a sin, this isn't that is a sin. And I have tons of childhood stories of really bad situations where my mom sexualized me, and it was not good, let me tell you that. But, if anything, this is exactly why I'm a hoe today. I'm kidding. When you just kind of have like, it's like, okay, so I am being slut-shamed by a woman with 3 kids and all of us have different last names. Okay. Maybe what I'm doing isn't too wrong. It's not the best thing I could have been doing at my age, but it's not the worst thing in the world. I could have been pregnant, I could have been doing drugs. It's like, no. You were just telling a guy your age that you thought he was sexy at like 16. That's not really the worst thing in the world. And then when your other side is just like, okay, the other side is the Muslim grandmother who can't see like longer than a second of kissing in a movie without saying to turn that shit off. So clearly she's got some sort of repressed shame of her own. So I just kind of went, yeah, all these niggas are crazy and I'm staying the fuck away from them and just doing me. Plus, if I was going to get punished anyway for simply wearing but every time I want to say form-fitting clothes, the little boob people wants to pop in, but whatever. But I'm not ashamed of my boobs anyway. Fuck it and look if you want. Anytime I wanted to wear clothes that actually fit my body and did not fit like a potato sack, if that was going to bring me shame, then fuck it. I might as well do the shameful shit I actually want. Like if watching certain movies and content and talking a certain way and acting a certain way is going to get me shamed, and that's just me being me and not even like entirely vulgar. Or if any of them would have done that at my fucking age, which they most likely did, they should not make me feel like shit. And that's exactly why I kind of advocate for telling people. Whenever I meet someone who has like sexual shame issues, I make sure I tell them, stop that shit. You have completely normal urges to fuck, to look at titties, to look at dicks, to look at pictures of buttholes, I guess, to do whatever you want. That's a completely natural urge. If you want to leave your house in a fucking dress and not wear tights underneath, that does not make you a hussy or a hoe or mean you deserve to get raped, no matter what fucked up culture you've grown around. You can show shoulders and not be having it be an invitation for anybody. You can wear a form-fitting outfit and that does not mean you want to get flirted with. Like, just, I feel like sexual shame just leads to a bunch of things, like rape culture, or people not having basic sex ed, which can lead to people like me being created because some people don't know how to use fucking condoms correctly. How did you fuck that up, mother? Also, this is your sign that condoms don't always work. Thank God for the modern day we have Plan B. Also, Plan B doesn't always work. Trust me, just look at any of the reviews for the Costco Plan B that people got for $15. You will see a lot of adorable, adorable baby photos. But yeah, you know how I say, I've been with a lot of Catholic dudes. I don't know why that is. It's just, I don't know, Christianity and all its subsets are very popular on this planet, I guess. But they always have sexual shame. And it could be from their family, it could be whatever their fucking priest or whatever taught them. And I just appreciate the people who have actually done outreach to, like, help these people. Like, it's funny, Christians always, and like people who are religious always talk about helping others, but I feel like other people don't. I feel like they kind of have to have space and like more open-mindedness to let that shit come back in. Like, I already explained that one guy I was with who had sexual trauma, because like he was 24 and his family found out that he had sex with me, and they shunned him, a grown man, and tried to basically say, all you can do is go to work and then come back home. You can't do anything else. I don't care if you actually legally own this car. You can't do fucking shit. And they tried to put him on punishment. So of course, I already remember telling you this, I told his ass, you could just sneak out the house and fuck me right now. And we did. And it was fun. And I told him, you have no issues. Plenty of people your age are doing 10 times worse than you are. You are not doing drugs. You're not doing substances. You're not hurting anybody. Okay, he kind of hurt me a few times, but not physically, emotionally. But he always apologized. I appreciate Catholic people. They're very, they know how to forgive, and they know how to apologize, and I find that very sexy, depending on the Catholic. Not to generalize, sorry for the generalizations against Catholic. But in a nutshell, I think there needs to be less shame around fucking. Like, for realsies. And people just need to, like, unpack whatever Madonna whore complex they have, purity culture, mommy and daddy issues. Like, that shit is fine. If you want to fuck, go ahead and fuck. Just please always get consent. Make sure you know what you're doing. Don't just jump right into wax play and knives and furries. Like, take your time to study what you're into. And I feel like if you give people zero room to actually figure out what they're into, that's how we get psychopathic people who hurt other people in so many forms. Like, it's a spectrum. You get those priests who are like, oh, okay, I never got to experience my sexual urges, so now I'm going to, like, fuck people up in the worst way by saying they can never, ever, 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 ever do theirs, or they're going to hell. Or if we wanted to go the other direction of what happens when priests are repressed, but then again, they are pedophiles, and some are just kind of made that way, so let's not even go there. And then there's the other end of the spectrum, where it's like stories I've read. Sadly, there's been a lot of serial killers who sadly have been, like, repressed sexually, or just killers in general. Where I remember this one story about this guy, and this by no means is a generalization that all gay people are serial killers. No, it's just like, hey, there happen to be gay serial killers that have existed. This one guy, I guess, like, grew up in a fucked up home in a fucked up city where they kept repressing, like, he just had no room to be who he was. I'm not going to finish off this story, but let's just say very bad things happen. And while I do sympathize for his situation, I find it disgusting and reprehensible what he fucking did. It was disgusting. But that's the type of shit I can picture happening. And it would be a much better place if the world was, like, just open about your sexuality, about your kinks, what you do. Doesn't mean you have to shove in your face. Doesn't mean you have to talk about, like, I don't know, the fucking Kama Sutra at the workplace or whatever. No. It just means I think there should be less people who cry after sex for whatever fucking reason. Or have sex and go, oh, that hurt and didn't feel good, but I have to do it regardless of their gender. I think shit like that needs to stop. I think there should be less 12-year-olds to 18-year-olds to 40-year-olds to just anyone of any age who is like, I'm ashamed of what I like. That shit makes me sad. So that's why I advocate very heavily for what I do. Like, I don't want to say exactly that it was a blessing that I experienced all the shit that I experienced growing up. It's not. That shit should have never happened. But I will say, it at least gave me insight into things that some other people just would never get to experience. And I can help people out and educate them about that. And I think that's nice. Anyway, peace out. Also, sorry for all the slut shaming. I just figured, my mom slut shamed me a lot growing up. I might as well do it back. Fuck it.